Thanks for allowing me to participate in this. Definitely a good experience for me. Hope you guys are enjoying these rough times. Definitely challenging for all of us, but I believe that we definitely will get through this. Okay, so just kind of tell you guys a little bit about me. I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio. I also played football at the University of Michigan from 2012 to 2015. I had Brady Hoke as a head coach, who's now the head coach at San Diego State for 3 years, and then my last year, Coach Jim Harbaugh was my head coach. And then from there, in 2018, I became a defensive assistant working with the outside linebackers. And then after that, like Coach said, I took over as a DB coach at Slippery Rock University in 2019. Last year, we finished 13-1, won our conference, and made it all the way to the national semifinals. So that was a pretty good year for us. And then this past about a couple months ago, beginning of February, I took over as a defensive coordinator and also linebacker coach at West Virginia Wesleyan. So it's definitely been a fun journey for my family and I. Just want to briefly touch on our defensive philosophy here and what we believe in and what we do a little bit here at West Virginia Wesleyan. Unfortunately, we weren't able to dive too much into it, obviously due to the coronavirus, but we were able to get one practice in. So I want to show you guys a little bit of some of the things that we did this spring. Okay, so first four things is for our key to success. Okay, the first thing is effort. When it comes to effort, I tell the guys this all the time. It does not take talent to play with effort. Okay, we chart loafs every practice for every drill that we do. Okay, we making sure that guys are running to drill. We make sure our guys that are running around the field. And the biggest thing is for our guys is that they understand that if you don't play with effort, you're taking off the field. I don't care how much talent you have, but if you don't play with a lot of effort, then they know that they won't be playing on the field. And so the guys understand that, again, it doesn't take much talent at all to play with effort. And I think that's done a pretty good job for us. And it also is carried off the field as well, especially times like this. You know, it takes effort to study your playbook. It takes effort to learn about our philosophy and things like that. So effort is huge for us, and it's a big part of our key to success. Okay. The other one is discipline. Guys, discipline is huge for us as well. The guys understand that, like defensive linemen, you got to be disciplined when we're keying the football before the ball snap. I don't want you guys jumping off sides. It's going to hurt our defense. Our linebackers have to be disciplined on their keys. Our defensive backs have to be disciplined in their fundamentals and their technique. So discipline is very huge as well for our keys to success as well. Okay, the tackling is a big part of this as well. Okay, I can sit there and draw a bunch of different things on the board. All right, but if we can't tackle, none of that's going to matter every day. And sometimes I know other coaches, they like to hold tackling circuits and things like that. What we do a little bit different here at West Virginia Wesleyan kind of goes along with our takeaway part for keys to our success as well is we focus tackling specifically with our position coaches. Okay, I want the guys to spend a lot of time on really teaching the fundamentals and the technique of tackling. So tackling is very big for us as well. And then, like I mentioned earlier, takeaways. So we do a takeaway circuit every day at practice for about 10 minutes. The biggest thing for us is taking that football away. And I'm not saying turnover, because turnover, the offense can sit there and fumble the football, and obviously we could probably pick it up. But I want to make sure that we're actually focusing on taking away the football, whether that's intercepting the football or doing strip drills and things like that. So these are our four words that we use to define our keys to success here at West Virginia Wesleyan. I'm talking a little bit about what we do as far as schematic wise. So on our first and second down, we're a 4-2-5 team. Okay, so we have our 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, which are Mike and Will, and 5 DBs. That 5th DB is what we call our Viper position. Okay, so that Viper, he's able to play in the box as a linebacker, and he's also able to cover slots and cover tight ends as well. That allows us to create better matchups for us on the edge, and also allows us to have different blitz patterns and stunts and movements and things like that, and allows us to have a little bit more speed on the field. As far as our coverages, we're very simple. Okay, we're a one-high defense. We play a lot of cover 1. We play a lot of cover 3, and I say 3 match. And when it comes to 3 match, it ties in with our cover 1 or our man-free principles. And I'll show you guys that in a sec how that relates to each other. Okay, so here's one clip from Skelly out of our first practice. So kind of just talk a little bit about how we align against the offense. So we'll play press man on the outside with our corners. But everything we do is from a press man alignment. Okay. Our slot, the guy that's covering our slot, I call him our rover. He'll play about 5 yards depth from the man. He'll play catch technique. Okay. So again, that carries over for our man free and our cover three. You'll see that in a second. Our rover, he's able to play both inside leverage, outside leverage. He's able to press. He's able to create different ways to show disguise based off what we're playing. The biggest thing I tell the secondary is let the quarterback see your eyes sometimes. Sometimes if we're playing man free, guys are so focused on covering that man that offenses automatically already know what we're in. So I tell the guys, be free with this. Sometimes, dictate and disguise what you guys want to do. Our corners, I tell the corners sometimes, hey, if we're in zone, keep your eyes on the man for a while, or vice versa. If we're playing man, show your eyes to the quarterback. One thing that I was told last year from our offensive coordinator at Slippery Rock was he teaches the quarterback to look at the corners, especially on a team that plays a lot of press man. If the corner's eyes are on that man and they're playing man free and press, then there's a good chance it's going to be man free. If the corner's eyes are looking in the backfield and they're not disciplined enough to keep their eyes on their man pre-snap, then there's a good chance that it could be zone. So what I teach the corners is, again, just play around with your eyes a little bit. Don't let the quarterback know exactly what you're doing, okay? This guy right here, our Viper position, okay, he aligns in a tilt 9 technique against the offense. Now, some questions have been brought up to me. How come you keep him in a tilt 9? How come you don't, put him in the box? Well, because we're not playing a true 4-3 defense, I want to keep our speed on the edge as much as possible. Okay, I don't want to have a smaller guy in the box as much. I want to allow our speed to help us out, especially when it comes to covering these tight ends and covering slots. So keeping the speed on the edge is very important for us. All right. And then we got our free right here. Now, our free, how he aligns splitting down the middle of the goalpost. Okay, so we could say apex in the formation. Sometimes players don't necessarily understand that. So how we have defined where to align is if you look at the goalpost, just align right down the middle of the goalpost, and that way you're able to cover, from the top of the numbers to the bottom of the numbers, and so on and so forth, and allow us to be multiple and creative that way. Okay. So out of this clip right here, as you can see, our corners playing press man. Now we go through a couple different techniques to use when we play press man. We'll play a tough jam, which you'll throw a tough hand jam right away just to kind of throw the receiver off balance. Right here, we kind of teach them glide steps, as you see from the corner down here at the bottom. Right here down at the bottom, he's glide stepping. All right. Again, just create havoc for the offense. The reason why that we play press man so much is because we want to throw off the timing of these routes. Okay? I'm not a big believer in sitting back on my heels and letting quarterbacks complete routes underneath all the time. So I want to put pressure on the quarterback as well. Okay? If you look at our rover right here, now he could do a little bit better job as far as playing his catch technique, but he'll sit here roughly 5 yards from the receiver playing catch technique. Now, in this situation right here, he's playing inside leverage. That allows us to disguise whether we're playing our man free or we're playing our cover 3 match. And if you take a look at our Viper up top covering this tight end, he's keeping his eyes on the tight end all the way down the field. Now, kind of going back to our effort plays, all right, this corner right here, this corner up top right here, if you watch him down the field, this is what I would consider a loaf, okay? And the guys know the consequences when it comes to loafing. But as you look right here down at the bottom with this corner, does a good job of being patient keying the footwork and the hips of the receiver. Does a good job on finishing. Now, what we also teach from the guys up front, and it also trickles down to the defensive lineman, is all I want is about a 5 to 10 yard burst. All right, we understand that during practice we don't have enough time to run to the football, especially if the ball's thrown down the field. But I at least want them having good habits of running to the football and bursting to the football. It's a good finish by him. So just showing this picture right here from the end zone view, as you can see where our free safety is at. This is where I want him to align at all times. Again, it helps us to get help when need to be, especially covering the slots, and allows him to run from the numbers on each side of the field. Okay, this call right here is our cover 3 match call. Okay, so when I'm describing 3 match, if the receiver runs a vertical route, okay, this Viper or this guy that's covering the slot, what he's going to do, he's going to collision the receiver, and he's going to work to his curl flat drop, which is about 10 to 12 yards. If the receiver runs an out-breaking route, he's going to match that to the flat immediately, okay? If this receiver runs some type of in-breaking route or a slant, he will carry that until the next underneath defender takes that over. How that happens is just communicating in, out, out. And I tell the guys this: you got to be able to see it with your eyes as well, not just communicate it. If this Viper sees that our Mike takes this over, then it's a good opportunity for him to play off of that and maybe steal something coming underneath from a number 1 receiver. If he doesn't see it with his eyes that Mike is taking over that receiver, continue to squeeze and continue to carry it, all right? But I don't have him carrying past the center. That should be going to the other side of the zone. Now, when we talk about our corners in our match 3 principle, they'll midpoint between 1 and 2 post snap. So as this receiver goes vertical, the corner, his angle of departure is squeezing this seam. All right, it's going to be able to help our free safety out, especially when we're getting 4 verticals. If number 2 runs out or number 2 goes away, then our corner is taught to lean on number 1. Or get his eyes on number 1 and get his eyes back to the quarterback and be ready to break on the quarterback's throw. Now, to keep everything the same, both out of our man-free and out of our cover 3 match, we run with the motion. Now, our free safety, who was our All-American our All-Conference free safety last year, he feels a lot better being in the field, open field. So I don't want to put him in a bad situation by sharing the motion. I know sometimes some coaches like to share the motion. I've also done that in the past as well. But to keep him comfortable, we just run with the motion. And with our match 3, with our match principles, it doesn't change anything. All right, so as you see, this receiver motioning, I call him our W receiver, he's motioning to the other side. Our rover will just travel with him. He just becomes a match 3 player. Now, what the rover needs to understand is if this number 3 receiver goes vertical, it's no different than if he was covering the number 2 receiver. The only thing that would change is this rover will now be a hook dropper instead of a curl flat dropper. Now, once they become 3-by-1, we'll lock the backside with this corner. So now that allows us free safety to help out to the trips. So if you look at the corner reads up top. He reads that the number 2 receiver isn't going vertical. He'll squeeze and lean more on 1. Okay. Now you look at our Viper. Now he doesn't need to lunge the way he's doing. He's doing a good job of now matching his new number 2. Our rover now ends up matching his new number 3. That all happens with communication. Now, if you take a look at our will backer right here, in our cover 3 match, we do not carry wheels. All right. Last year, what I noticed is we had a hard time defending post wheel. Teams would take advantage of whoever was covering the flat defender, or excuse me, the flat player or the wheel. They were taking advantage of that. So what we do now is, if we do get a team that runs post wheel, rewind this back to 2x2. So if we got post wheel, the corner will just lean on this wheel, and this post is going straight to the free safety. But for the wheel, what I have to tell them is, you have to understand, if you're to the back side, to the single receiver side, and our corner is locked on this receiver, he has no chance. He has no help if he lets his wheel go. So our wheel backer will carry, if this tailback were to run a wheel, our wheel backer will carry the wheel. That's the only time we'll carry the wheel out of our match three coverage. And we'll rally to the football. But take a look at this picture now. We have the whole defense. So we'll set the front. If there's a tight end in the core, we'll set the front to the tight end. The tight end could be attached, or the tight end could be in the hip position, or some coaches like to call it the yo tight end. Wherever that tight end's at in the core, we'll set the front to the tight end. If there's no tight end in the core, we'll set the front to the field, which allows our Viper to be out in the field. I want to make sure I keep our backers in the box, our Mike and Will. So our Rover and our Viper, they'll be the adjusters. Okay. Now, what I tell the corners is, I want them to get into their break, especially if we're in our match three. I want them to get into their break based off the receiver's movement. Now, if you look at number 27 down here at the bottom, he starts to creep out a little bit before the snap. If that happens, fine. All right, but I don't want them to just bail out, 10, 12, 15 yards, because then it leaves this area wide open. Okay, that's just pitch and catch for the offense. Okay, so if they do get caught doing that, they need to slow their bail down. Be ready to break on the quarterback. Right here, we'll get double outs by our slot receiver, by our H, number 2 receiver, and our W, the number 3 receiver. And as you see, both our Viper and our Rover, they'll match them to the flat. They do a pretty decent job with that. And up top, we're locking the backside with this corner. Will does a good job as a match 2 player, matching the tailback to the flat. So this is just how we'll play both our man free and our 3-match principles.
Got a question here. Do you play any other adjustments to the backside on trips, or is the corner always manned up with the free playing middle of the field?
Yes, the corner is always manned up to the backside and allowing the free to help out to the trips. And the reason for that is because we want to get this free closer to the passing strength, the most dangerous receivers. Now, we could, come game plan situation, do a little bit different things where, the free might lean over, depending on whoever's to the boundary. Like usually we'll put our best cover guy to the boundary, so we won't have to worry too much about that guy getting beat. But for whatever reason, if we're constantly getting beat to the boundary, we'll just change things up and we'll just align our free safety closer to the boundary. But playing this coverage both out of man free and match 3, it allows us to look the same across the board. Okay, so pre-snap, the quarterback and offenses might not necessarily understand or know whether we're playing our 3-match or if we're playing our man free, because it all looks the same. Again, we allow our Viper and we allow our Rover to mess around post-snap, pre-snap, whether they're playing outside leverage, inside leverage. Again, it all looks the same. Once we get to our third down package, we'll take one defensive lineman out, so it'll be a 3-2-6, really our dime, and I call it our speed package. So we'll take one defensive lineman out. We'll bring in another DB. For the defensive lineman, I want our best 3 pass rushers out there on the field. All right, I want them being able to fly around and get to the quarterback any way possible. Okay, with having our 6 DBs allows us to have a little bit more speed on the field as well. On our third down package, we have a couple different things. As far as our defensive linemen, one of our calls we are able to send pressure with our ends, and we'll have a spy with our mic. So it allows us to be a little bit more multiple in the back end. Now, we'll start out playing our cover 3 match. We'll start out playing our man free, but it also allows us to play, robber coverage, maybe some cover 2, maybe some 2-man under as well, just because we were able to have a little bit more speed on the field to be able to match the personnel that the offense puts out on the field. Guys, my biggest philosophy and the biggest thing when it comes to being a coordinator here, I like to say, is less is more and more is less. I want to keep everything as simple as possible, especially in our coverage. My biggest thing is allowing the players to not have to think so much on the field. I think sometimes it's very criminal when us coaches will put a lot of things on the board, and it might look good on a whiteboard, but our players have to be able to apply what we put on the board on the field. So for me, I want our players to be able to play fast and play aggressive. That all ties into being simple. When it comes to us playing fast and aggressive, it allows our players to, if they do make mistakes, okay, we have hopefully 11 guys flying to the football, but if one guy makes a mistake, 10 other guys should be there run to the football to correct that mistake. When it comes to playing aggressive, I'm a big believer in being very aggressive on the field. I'm not a big believer in sitting back on my heels, being 100% a bend, don't break defense. I don't want to have the offense sitting there nickel and diming us down the field. If we're just sitting back in the zone, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on our defense by them chewing up a lot of time possession, chewing up clock. And if they get down to the red zone, then we're tightening up the screws a little bit to keep them out of the end zone. No, I want the offense to feel us every single time we step out on the field and be very aggressive in everything that we do. We'll be creative and multiple in our blitzes and in our stunts up front, but in the back end, we want to keep things simple. I don't want to be teaching scheme in week 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 when, we should be really just be focusing on how we should be defending offenses. That's why I'm a big believer in keeping everything simple and allowing our players to read and react to everything that they see. All right. Do you guys have any other questions for me?
Yeah, guys, feel free to hit the chat if anybody has any questions in regards to what Coach went over. Do you want to, Coach? Do you want to share your contact information, whether it's Twitter, email?
Yep, absolutely. So my second
here. Here's a question that came in, Coach. With your 5 DBs, do you ever play 3 switch?
As far as 3 switch, what do you mean by 3 switch?
Coach, can you just elaborate on that? Hold on. Let me. Coach, I unmuted you.
You've unmuted me. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was talking about maybe a Rover and a Viper taking a deep third, and your corners pressing down on those outside guys.
Mm-hmm. So as far as your switch, you're saying maybe the Rover and the Viper going to the deep 30, so the corners coming down. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got you. I have that actually in our playbook, but I have not really talked too much about that. Kind of again, we've only really had one practice, so I didn't want to put too much out there. But my biggest thing is putting guys in positions that are going to make them be successful. If I feel that we're able to have those corners playing down and we're able to possibly move our Viper and our Rover to the middle third of the field, then that's definitely something we'll do. But as of right now, I just want to keep everything simple and align bodies on like bodies. Now, when our Viper and Rover they align, our Viper is always going to be on too strong. Our Rover is always going to be on too weak, unless we get like a matchup situation. Let's say our Viper is having a hard time covering the number 2 receiver. Then we can easily just make a switch call or a matchup call, and then they just flip responsibilities. If teams are in trips, the Viper just becomes the hook player. If his receiver goes vertical, the Rover just becomes the curl flat player. If his receiver goes vertical, if that makes sense.
Another question here, Coach. What can you do to help linebackers from getting too close and tight to the front?
Yes. So we align at 5 yards. We're at 5 yards linebacker depth. And we actually had a problem with that early on in practice, where those guys, they were so antsy. They would want to align, 2-3 yards by the line of scrimmage. And what I tell those guys is, you guys got to be able to see what's going on in front of you. If you're so close to the line of scrimmage, you're not going to be able to read your keys. You're not going to be able to see, what the back's doing. You're going to have a harder time getting out to coverage if a team runs play action. So our alignment is 5 yards at linebacker depth.
Any other questions for Coach? And you put your contact information up there, Coach?
It is. Let me see.
Or you could even type it in the if you want it.
Where do I type it in at?
You can type it in the chat. Do you see you might have to unshare the screen.
Let me stop sharing the screen.
And then there's the chat at the bottom.
Okay.
There you go. Did you see the question that just came in from Coach Barnes?
If you have undersized inside linebackers, what is the best way to teach block destruction in your opinion? Hands is very important. That's what we work on daily, is our hands. And 3 points of contact, your hands and your hat. We always work on violence when it comes to getting rid of blocks. I'm not a big believer in just placing your hands, because sometimes, the guy said, well, Coach, you're saying use your hands. Well, yes, I'm saying use your hands. We'll put you in good position to get off the block, but we want to make sure that you're violent. You're actually striking with your hands. So, in my opinion, that's the best way to coach it is use your hands. Not, some players like to use their flippers. In my opinion, that's not good, because how can you get off the block? And I'll teach our guys, especially our inside linebackers, when they're going up against bigger offensive linemen. I'll teach them a couple of different ways how to defeat the block. I don't care if they defeat the block over the top or underneath, but what I do tell them is, if you're going to defeat it underneath, you better make the play. Now, for example, if our Mike backer is trying to defeat the block underneath, that Will backer just needs to understand, hey, I need to replace him over top. So everybody understands what everybody's job is, especially between the Mike and the Wills, and they do a pretty good job of making each other right.
Good deal. Anybody else? Any last questions? Last minute questions? There you go.
What type of drills do you do to train your backer's eyes and pass coverage? So as far as training our backers' eyes and pass covers, obviously in our man free, especially with our Mikes and Wills, they're keying the back. So out of our base call, if the back were to align on, let's say, the Will side, the Will knows that he has that back man to man. The Mike, he'll look to opposite of the back for any threats that are coming, especially if teams like to run mesh. Obviously man beaters or, mesh routes, crossing routes, things like that. So our Mike, he will look opposite of the back. Now, if the back's in pistol, the backers just need to see which side the back goes to, and then whichever side the back goes to, that's who's covering him. And out of our match 3 call, exact same thing. If the back is opposite your side, you're looking to the opposite side to see if anything is coming from the field or to the boundary.
Good deal. Anybody else? Feel free to drop them in there. And obviously, and Coach dropped his cell in there. And I've been telling y'all, obviously this time where we got more time on our hands, man, take advantage of, the coaches that are giving out their contact information, because once we get back to it, we won't have as much time to do that. So, Coach Gant, man, appreciate you jumping on and spending some time with us this morning, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm also going to send out my Twitter as well.
Yeah. Yeah, feel free to drop the Twitter handles in there, guys. Follow each other. Reach out. Keep progressing, man. Keep pushing it. Keep pushing it forward.